Okay, well, there's been a lot of questions on the Alex Belfield video that I did the other day. A lot of people have commented both ways. Some people support him, some people don't. I'm hoping to have some more information on Alex next week, although my sources are not very forthcoming with information. But whatever I do get, I will share with you for sure. Lots of people have asked me they want to write to him, and you do need the guy's prison number, and obviously you need to know where he is. He was in Nottingham. I don't know if he's still there. People have said he's moved to Stockton. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. But it doesn't matter, because if you write to him at Nottingham, it will eventually catch up with him. If they've moved him somewhere else, the mail will follow him. It'll take a while, but it will get there in the end. But the general census of opinion that people have been talking about is, oh, he's a villain, he got the huffers and puffers, of course, from the hanging and flogging brigade, who want him shot, dead, outside the crematorium, you know, and everyone in between. But at the end of the day, the man is an internet troll. He's bothering people on the internet, being rude and just doing people's heads in. Internet trolls are a nuisance. I've got internet trolls. You can Google me and look for the trolls. You'll find them. You know, loads of people, loads of YouTubers have got internet trolls. And a lot of the time, especially with us, we know who they are because we've done a bit of investigating into them. But if you try to investigate every troll out there, do your head in. What you've got to remember about internet trolls is they're all wind and no trousers, right? No one's coming round to your house, okay, to carry out all these things they've said they're going to carry out, because they won't. They haven't got any cojones. So, getting back to Alex, my whole opinion of internet trolls is, yes, they are a nuisance, they are a pain in the ass, they should go to jail, but no more than 12 months, because you'll make them worse if you send them down for more than 12 months. Because the longer, every day that they're there, they're getting more and more angry, and they're going to want revenge when they get out, but not just on you, just big time on everyone, and the establishment and the government and the crown, and they go right into one, and they could actually go loon insane. They're probably not very well in the head to begin with, which is another issue which I want to talk about later, in people in prison. You know, you've got a lot of mental health people in there, and it's only going to make them worse, isn't it? If they're in there for long periods of time, especially in isolation, they're going to be really messed up. Now, I've got this issue with judges. Okay, judges are like, oh, they've been promoted from barristers, haven't they? And they've gone to be judges, and they're getting goodness knows how much money a year salary, and they're driving around in a Rolls Royce being chauffeur driven and frowning on people who have to thieve for food and stuff like that, and they're just general thieves. I mean, because the world's full of villains. Prisons are full of villains who are mainly thieves and into drugs, taking drugs, stealing money to buy drugs, because that's just the way things are at the moment. Now, a judge has never been in jail, okay? So he doesn't know. When he goes, I'm sending you to prison for forever. No, 5 years. What's the difference between 5 years and 4 years or 6 years? Judge has got no conception of what it's like in jail. They've never been banged up in a jail. They've got no clue. Okay, they might have been shown round a jail once by a governor somewhere. He's wandered around with his tie on going, cells, yes, all these villains, hope they don't find out who I am, or they might beat me up. You know, got clueless, absolutely clueless. And when it comes to sentencing, so obviously these people are intelligent. They've been barristers and they've been promoted registrars and silks and things, and when you get to be a High Court judge, or just a judge, imagine on the circuit, they've got no clue. They've got no clue what it's like to be incarcerated. And then, on top of that, when they send you, let's just say Alex, they've sent him to prison for 5.5 years. When he gets there, the judge didn't say whether he should be Cat A, Cat B, Cat C, Cat D, on the rule, GOAD, E-man. That's down to the prison service to assess and security risk assess, because they are then given a warrant or something to hold that man in custody for X amount of time, whatever the court said, and they're looking at him and thinking, how dangerous is he? And if you're not dangerous, I've known people like Peter Klaus of Barlow Klaus Investments who ripped off loads of pensioners. You know, we're talking millions and millions of pounds in government bonds, laughing his cock off. I got 10 years in prison. And they looked at Peter and they looked at him up and down. They thought, he's not dangerous. We'll send him to a category D jail, which was an open jail. It hasn't even got a fence around it. Whereas someone who's violent, someone who's come and bashed you on the head and give you a good kicking in the street because you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, violent offender like that is going to be put into a category A, category B jail because he's violent and they might beat the screws up and stuff like this. It's all category. Every single prison sentence is different depending on what category of security status that you have. Okay, and someone like Alex, just as a general thing, they'll come in as a Cat B into a local nick. He's just got 5.5 years. Oh, 5.5 years. So straight away the fare's up, isn't it? They're thinking, oh, category B or C, and then they'll assess him, they'll risk assess him, and then they'll work out what sort of character is, and they'll probably put him in a Cat C. I don't know him. I've got no idea what sort of person he is. I've only seen him on the internet, but they risk assess everybody, and they generally put you in a higher group to start off with until they're watching you and assessing you and doing reports, and then they think, we could put him down a bit. So I started off really high, and then I got really low, and by the time I got out I was in Cat D, which was open, and we were going home every twice a month, something like that, for the weekend, long weekend, and if you behaved yourself you got another. So it's encouraging people. Now, if you want to ask people about sentencing, you shouldn't go to judges, because judges have this book, it's called the Archibald. Like when I was in jail, we had these big sentencing guideline books called the Archibald. There was about 3 volumes, and you get it down and you look up your offence to give yourself an idea of what you're going to get. And it varies tremendously. You know, you've got a good idea of where it's going to fall, and they take other things into account, like do we like him or not? No, is he a bit of an idiot? You know, what is he gobby? You know, is he polite? And this is how judges are supposed to be. They're supposed to work things out and allow things, and using their own judgments, they're supposed to just give you a sentence. But you give someone a sentence, things have changed. I watched the Black Belt Barrister. I don't know if you watch him. He did a thing and he was explaining about judges' sentencing guidelines the way they are now, and whatever the category of offence is, and it's this much and this much and so much, and how you can add bits on and take bits off. And it's not a computer program. And if it was a computer program, you wouldn't need a judge, would you? You'd just have a program and they get go bing, 5.5 years. So you've got to have some discretion. You've got to be sort of realistic. But I did find that in the prison service, you've got 2 types of prison officers. You've got what we call dinosaurs, old school, hanging and flogging brigade, and then you've got people who are all right, and you've got people who are dead switched on, and they're there because they know they're not there to punish people. Being in prison is the punishment, okay? And depending on the security status that you've been allocated, their job is to look after you. Custody with care was one of their logos, and they look at people and they think, okay, well, we've got to look after you. We don't want you getting all stressed and blowing up and then attacking officers or attacking each other. We want a nice peaceful jail, which is why a lot of the backs were turned to drugs like cannabis and things. When I was in, loads of the lads had cannabis. They were smoking it all the time because it calms everyone down, and they're just in the cells behaving themselves. Screws have got nothing to do. They think, okay, you know, a nice peaceful time. And they were going around taking and searching everyone and being ruthless with the drugs, so no one had anything on the wing. They'd have kick-offs and fights and arguments and things to break up, and so it's in their benefit really it should be compulsory, I think, in jail. Weed, you should get weed every day. You should get a weed ration, and you can just be there smoking it. But one of the problems with weed, as I've noticed over the years, is that people say it's harmless, and in most of the cases, yes, it is. And in some cases, if you're a bit schizophrenic, if you've got a mental health issue, I think it brings it out more. So, you know, I think the more research needs to be done in that. But getting back to the prison officers, these are the people, especially the higher up you go in the prison service, the more switched on these people are and the more awake they are to the environment that they're in and the people they're in and what's going to cause kick-offs and what's not going to cause kick-offs. And it's their job to steer that jail in a direction that's positive, that's not going to cause kick-offs and not going to provoke people and get people's backs up. And these are the very people I think should be in charge of the justice system, should be replacing the judges, because they know exactly what it's like. Although they've not actually been locked up themselves, they've got a lot of experience, and because they're constantly communicating with prisoners and they know what's causing the kick-offs and how to calm the kick-offs down. And I think people like that are more qualified to make a judgment than a judge. And so they should be able to make a recommendation, people like that, to the judge, which he should take into account as well. Or if they say, no, that's too much, or no, that's not enough. You know, you've got people who know what they're talking about in there with them, that can help them make the right decisions and the right sentences for things. But again, people have pointed out political things. There's political things. They'll make an example of you. Like the bank robbers, what were they called? The great train robbers. 30 years they got. 30 years. You know, because they robbed the train and they didn't want other people robbing the train, so they thought, oh, we'll slam them, slam. So that was a political slam. And robbers, you know, they get. You go into a building society with a shotgun, right, and rob a building society, and you get away with all the money, and you might do a few, and then they catch you. You're looking at 10 years. But armed robbery is a serious offence. You shouldn't get 10 years for being an internet troll, okay, and just pissing people off on the internet by having a picture of not you, an anonymous face, an anonymous voice. And Belfield actually obviously stalked people. He obviously made a nuisance of himself on the internet, but there's no way you should get 10 years. No way you should get 5.5 years. Drugs is another one. You get caught with I think a fella I knew got 3 kilos of heroin. He got caught with that. 12 years, slam. But they will hit you hard for drugs. They will, for sure. And it's getting more and more ridiculous, because the more they say, oh, they should be in for longer. The drug smugglers just going to get angry and react. People said to me years ago, why don't you go to Thailand and smuggle drugs from Thailand? I said, because they're going to fucking shoot you, stand you against the wall and shoot you if they catch you. So if you were thinking of going to Thailand and smuggling heroin, you'd have to be armed to the teeth, and you'd have to be prepared to shoot cops if it came on top, shoot your way out of a situation. And unless you're prepared to do that, then don't go to fucking Thailand and don't smuggle drugs. That's what I say to people, because it's a life and death situation. You're not doing yourself any favours surrendering at gunpoint, are you? And you're not doing them any favours. They're not doing you any favours. And they just finish up with loads of bodies all full of bullet holes. So there's ways not to escalate situations and sentences. And all the Hanging and Flogging Brigade, I think they're just a bunch of cunts. They just don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Just talking out their arse. Right, and we need to be sensible and be more mature and grown up with what we're talking about. Otherwise, you just make things worse. Sorry about that rant, but there we go. I just thought I'd clear a few things up there. I've been answering, but I'll still answer the questions that people have put. And I'm not having a go. I'm not trying to make an idiot out of anybody. I'm just pointing out that if you've never been in jail, you've never had experience, and you don't know what you're talking about, and so you should just zip it. It's like me talking about brain surgery, isn't it? Well, I think they did it all wrong. So what do you know about brain surgery? Nothing, but I know that you've got a brain in your head, so you just sawed the top off. I think you did it wrong. Don't know what I'm talking about, so shut it. That's what I say. Okay, of course you're angry. People burgle your house and they trash your house, for example. They might steal your car. So of course you're going to be angry. You're going to want them to go to jail forever, but that's not really a practical solution, is it, to the problem? So we've all got to be practical and sensible and grown up with our arguments and attitudes towards problems, and talk about it sensibly, and hopefully professional people, and think of ways of improving things all the time. Just lock someone up in a box and leave them in solitude for too long, they're going to go off their head. Right? And when they get out, they're going to start stabbing people. And you think, oh, what the fuck happened there? He just got out of jail. Well, why didn't he go around stabbing people? He didn't even know those people he stabbed to death. Well, I could see straight away that was London Bridge, remember that one? And the police came along and shot him dead. How could that have been avoided? Well, 2 people are dead because of that. And a few others got injured and probably traumatised for life. And they probably gave the guy a hard time when he was in jail. It's not the way forward. That's not how you do it. Okay? You can make problems worse by being an arsehole, like Michael Howard. Okay? He was a complete arsehole. I'm glad he's gone. Glad he didn't make it in politics. Right? And he was the worst thing ever. I'll talk about him on another day. Thanks for watching.